Hey guys, how's it going? We are
How's it
back
going?
with part three to the uh, the Secret Societies series we've been doing. Um, we went over the first one. We went over more Freemasons. The second one we went over the Illuminati. Went into pretty in depth on that. Um, this this episode we're going to go into the the top three of the hierarchies of the secret societies. Um, so at the base, you have, well, it's weird because they all are interconnected. However, they do all serve, they are very structured as a hierarchy, especially when you get in these top threes. Um, so the first one we're going to go over is going to be the Committee of 300. Uh, this is, well, the Committee of 300 was the original name, which refers to the, well, first it was the Council of Rome, then it became the Club of Rome. The Committee of 300 refers to the 300 Spartans, who in the story, um, the small elite group of warriors took on uh, the mass army of Persia, um, referring to the small group of elites that take on the whole world, basically.
Mm.
Um, but now um, they, as of 1980, started calling themselves the Olympians. So
Interesting.
a lot of these societies will go by so many different names.
I
And
lost you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties with the internet. Tends to happen with this stuff. But
Yeah.
I swear, it's like every single episode since we started doing this. It's like something weird
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Um, but we're just going to keep on trucking on, exposing the evil. So, and it, going through this whole section was complete, like, it was intense. It was absolutely mind blowing. And there's so much information that a lot of this stuff I'm going to mention. And I'm just going to defer to y'all to really like research those topics that you find most interesting and stuff like that. Because if you,
Well, the
I spent
the
hours.
the document that you sent me about the different family and bloodlines. I mean, it it goes down so many rabbit holes, and it gets so dark. I mean, you can't understand unless you read this document how dark this goes. I mean, we're going to talk tonight about different you know things that governments and these secret societies do. Other, like we've talked about before, but it gets into a little bit more um, detail, and the like you say, Brandon, the evil is just it's off the charts. These people seemingly don't have a soul almost.
Oh, oh yeah, and none of this information is conspiracy theory or even theory at all. It is
No.
all pulled from CIA.gov.
Yes.
So unless they just post crazy stuff on their website, that is where I've gotten every single piece of information that we've discussed through this whole entire thing.
And I
Um,
think they're intentionally trying to make it mainstream now. They're not hiding anymore. They're they're not, for the better word, and I put this in quotations, the secret societies aren't secret anymore. They're
no,
letting themselves be known.
well, they let what they want be known
Yes. Yeah.
because they, again, their whole premise is if they tell us what they're doing, and we don't do anything about it, we are complicit, as in
Mhm.
okaying what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so the Committee of 300, again, it's not just 300 entities or families or whatever. The 300 is symbolism that they pulled uh, from the Spartans and Rome and everything like that. Um, and it so the 300 is basically like the not orchestrators. What's a better word for it? They
Architects.
execute. Yeah. No, the architects would be more of like the 13 families or the Council of 33. Uh, they are they execute the plan, like the upcoming plans for Agenda 30 or 2030, Agenda 2040, all those stuff, because they go in decades as far as the plans go. So these are institutes, these are entities, um, different subgroups, um, and a lot of these subgroups are by design. A lot of it is um, just compartmentalizing different aspects of agendas and whatnot. Uh, so we got the Royal Institute of Internal Affairs, uh, the Council of Foreign Affairs, the Bilderberg Group, NATO, Bohemian Grove, the Mothers of Darkness, CIA, MI6 are just kind of some of well-known groups that are involved with this committee. Um, and these are, and it's basically more of the Western world groups. So the United States, UK, or Western Europe, um, a lot of those countries, intelligence agencies, um, a lot of those groups are involved with all this stuff. CIA, obviously, very heavy in it. And I would say, probably as far as the United States side, the main uh, overseer of the things that goes on here, as far as those committees go, would be the Rockefellers,
Mhm.
because they've they've put up money. They have their name, that and the Rothschilds also, which ironically I don't think they really get along as far as my research goes, because they embed spies in each other's organizations all the time. It's just you'd think they like get along, but I guess they don't. None of these
Well,
really places.
they're jockeying for power. They always are. One family or another is wanting total control and total power. But we do know that the Rockefellers and the um, Rothschilds also have people above them. You know, there there are people above those families that are controlling them as well.
Yeah, and those would be they're a part of the 13 families.
Yes.
However, they're low on the totem pole as far as those goes, because the higher the totem the higher the I would say that the we'll get into it, but there is a hierarchy within those 13 also, and there is a number one family that is believed to have the most power. Um, and so groups like that are part of it. So, example of plans and stuff that I was talking about them executing. One of them being, it's actually starting to get a lot of traction in as far as like, uh, not mainstream news, obviously, but alternative media like podcasts and stuff like that would be the Monarch Mind Control Project.
Yes.
Um, Oddly enough, this project, the Monarch Project, is what Stranger Things storyline is based off of.
Mhm.
And that's not like theorized. That's what the writer of the Stranger Things series said, that he got it from this Monarch project that he said was conspiracy. But we know now through CIA documents, stuff like that, that it was completely real. They said they shut it down. Obviously, they didn't shut it down. They just rebranded probably into what's called as MK Ultra. Um, so the way the Monarch project was uh, started out of World War II, uh, with a doctor. What's his name? Dr. Joseph Miguel. He was a Nazi. Uh, he was a doctor of or you'd say like a mad scientist, basically, is the best way to describe it. I don't know what his exact like specialty was, but he was the definition of a mad scientist.
And
And
also, didn't he have definite ties to the occult as well?
oh yeah, I mean, he absolutely. Part of his treatments and stuff was uh, ritual, satanic ritual uh, treatments, basically, or abuse. But he was nicknamed the Angel of Death.
Hmm.
Um, but so the Monarch Mind Control Project was a started out as the theory that you could split somebody's personality, um, basically making them have multiple personalities, that you could have a normal everyday citizen in one personality and a trained assassin or spy or some type of other person in the same body, by exposing them to massive amounts of psychological and physical trauma, ritual, satanic abuse. Um, they did things like sleep deprivation. Just I can't say the word. Um, they also did things like sensory, or was it sense deprivation,
Yes,
basically
sensory deprivation.
blinding you, um, like making sure that you can't use any of your five senses, and sticking you
They
in a
put you in a
room.
room with, and turn up the decibels where and leave you in that room for hours where
Oh
you
yeah,
can't you can't stop. The decibels would be right at the level but not exceeding the level to basically not bust your eardrum but take you almost to the point where it's almost bursting your eardrum and
right,
just
and
leave you there.
also a soundproof room
Hmm.
with no smell, blinding you, and for days and days and days, and all through different series of torture and experiments, electroshock therapy, all every weird thing that you can think of. They figured out a formula to basically split people's personalities. Uh, there's over 2 million Americans that have gone through this program that we know of. Uh, Again, according to CIA documents, and honestly, if you go to CIA.gov and just type in any of these like keywords like Monarch Project, uh, uh, 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati, the Committee of 300, you'll get the documents. They're not even redacted. They're just blatantly out there. So, yeah, with this all happened after World War II, and he was actually one of the scientists that did they throw him in jail? No. Did they kill him? No. They brought him over here and let him work in our United States of America, because they wanted to know what he knew, because they want to control us and ruin our lives. And so during this, They found out, first of all, children's between the ages of 4 and 7 are the easiest to go through this project. And because at that age you're very susceptible to manipulation and persuasion and all this stuff. But there's people that have come out that have gone through this whole project that have never realized that they actually went through this project. Some of them have gone through like hypnosis therapy and realized that they have memories of being in the Monarch Project that they had no idea. Because what they do is if you've ever seen Marvel's The Winter Soldier, it's the exact same thing. They give you a series of trigger words that triggers that personality come out. Your normal conscious mind goes to sleep, and this whole other person comes out. And this person has been trained for years and years to do all sorts of crazy stuff. But this isn't this is something that they discovered, but the idea of this stuff actually goes back a lot farther than World War II. It goes back to even Egyptian times of as far back as 1000 BC, no, 1000 AD, when. Well, that's how old the Book of the Dead in Egypt, the scroll that contains the Book of the Dead. That's where this theory of mind control and stuff came out of originally. I don't know the exact date when it was discovered, but this whole idea of split personality mind control through trauma-based therapy, that's what they call it, therapy, comes out of that book.
And just as a side note, Brandon, this is where you get LSD. In this project, this Montauk project, and these other projects where they were trying to split personalities, these people were given heavy doses of LSD to speed up the process. Uh, and it was a way to get people into an alternated state where their mind was easier to be able to form in what they wanted to, because when you're taking LSD, all of your senses are heightened to, an upgraded level. So LSD was heavily used in trying to um, deal with mind control and with splitting people's personalities, because a lot of people that came out of this um, these projects, and we're talking in the 60s, when this, it evidently started much earlier than the 60s, of course, but we really started to see LSD come on the scene in the late 50s, early 60s, and then you started to see a drastic amount of schizophrenia, that people were being diagnosed with schizophrenia because of LSD.
Oh yeah, and I have a whole bunch of theories on schizophrenia and stuff. Uh, oh. So another interesting fact I found is the movies Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio, and Sleeping Beauty. Those were movies that were created to help with this person. They're very susceptible movies to kids, so it would help them dissociate from themselves with these characters. That's how the whole movie was written for this project.
Mhm.
Because after the trauma and therapy and that they went through, they would show them these movies, and what these kids would do they would use these movies to basically associate themselves with the characters in the movie, and that would help that dissociation take place in to alternate personalities, which is extremely weird.
Well, even in the story of Pinocchio, the bad guys talk about taking the little boys to Pleasure Island,
Yep.
and you don't want to go to, they made it sound like, oh, we're going to take you to Pleasure Island, but you didn't want to go to Pleasure Island.
Well, not only that, and they would associate themselves with these characters that I forgot how they put it. So basically they would become these characters because these programs would it was written in a way to heavily influence personality dissociation through your subconscious.
And again, Walt Disney was a part of these elite groups. We know
Yeah,
this.
he was he's a 33rd degree Freemason. He's not from a royal bloodline, but he is from a royal bloodline adjacent, like a blue blood or a cousin of a royal bloodline. He's his lineage goes back, and he is a part of the Council of 33, which we'll get into next after we kind of go more over this. But yeah, so Monarch Project. There's another project. So well, no, the other projects like Operation Stargate, all these other CIA projects that we've talked about before are all part of, these are plans and things that the Committee of 300 organize and execute. And basically use us all as guinea pigs in more ways to control the masses. But yeah, I get a lot of questions about the World Economic Forum, if they're a part of that committee. From what I've read, I haven't. From the World Economic Forum is more like it's a get together of what the agenda is. Basically, from what I've gathered, is people like Klaus Schwab and Harari, Bill Gates. They get these groups together to basically kind of delegate tasks to the committee from the hierarchy. It's almost like a press secretary for the Committee of 300. So the press secretary's job is to basically be a mouthpiece for the president to the journalists and everything like that. The World Economic Forum is a public mouthpiece to the committee of what is going on and who needs to do what and what areas that they need to work on. Like this past year, independent media channels on YouTube, like podcasts and stuff like that, censorship, freedom of speech. These are all threats that they deemed. The whole disinformation, malinformation thing was big. So censorship was really heavy as far as the World Economic Forum is concerned, making sure that we're not talking about this stuff. So that was a head nod to everybody that, hey, take your resources and we need to fix this whole we need to get this whole freedom of speech thing locked down, and y'all work on that kind of thing.
And also the digital currency at this last World Economic Forum.
Central bank digital currency.
That was a big, because what does that do? If you control my bank account, I have an electronic bank account, if I do something that you don't like, be it on the internet, a podcast or whatever, then you can turn my bank account off. and most people are going to jump in line, you know, and their behaviors are going to change pretty quick when you start turning off their money
Oh
and their
yeah,
ability to
absolutely,
have an income.
absolutely. That is something that we can absolutely not have. Um, so that is kind of right above your basic level Illuminati, your basic level Freemasons, and the other stuff that we kind of went over. Um, Not to say that these people aren't in that same club. They are. They just hold a higher ranking title than, let's say, like people like Taylor Swift or Beyonce or these other like kind of mouthpieces of the Illuminati that think they're actually in the Illuminati, but really they're just being used by the Illuminati. Um,
Kind of like P Diddy.
exactly, exactly. And look how great that's turned out for him. Um, so the next tier we go up to, this one was really hard to find stuff on. The Council 33. Uh, Basically, what this is the highest level Freemasons. Oh, sorry, I've been doing a lot of research on this stuff. Kind of tiring, but yeah, the Council of 33. I can only find um, a group of prominent names that people know on, like Disney, Vanderbilts, the Drexels, the Warburgs, um, the Kleinworts. Those are some families that are basically that the heads of those families are 33rd degree Freemasons. Um, and those, the Council of 33 is not, again, 33 actual like people. It's the Council of 33rd degree Freemasons.
33rd degree, yes. And on a side note as well, and we talked about this earlier before we got started, you know, Walt Disney has a club, or you know, the club still exists, but Walt Disney started it, and it's the Club of 33 that's actually in Disney World. And the only way that you can be a part of this club is if you are asked to be. And one of the requirements, if I'm not mistaken, is that you have to be a 33-degree Mason to be part of that club.
Right. And you can only be a 33rd degree Freemason if you are born into that and you are part of that bloodline. Um, and so those, I can't find a whole lot about this group as far as what their role is. Um, I would guess if this works like a military, um, they would be your top generals of the military. If it's in a hierarchy like similar to a military, um, then above them you have the tip of the pyramid. You have the 13 royal bloodlines. They're also called 13 royal bloodlines of the Illuminati, 13 satanic bloodlines. But basically, the reason they're 13, and I'll go back through the history on this stuff. Um, so, at the beginning, oh, sorry about that. So, at the beginning, in mockery of God's 12 tribes of Israel, um, Satan blessed 12 bloodlines himself as an imitation or mockery of what God created. And it's always adjacent. It's always the anti of everything that God does.
Mm-hmm.
So one bloodline was came from Ishmael. That bloodline throughout history helped develop alchemy and take alchemy to its and develop the which chemistry comes from but more mystical alchemy in the traditional sense. Uh, there was a bloodline from there's the Egyptian bloodline, a Celtic bloodline, and a Druid bloodline. Uh, there was a bloodline that was blessed from the Orient to help develop the Oriental magic. One lineage was from Canaan and the Canaanites, um, which this bloodline I was able to trace back to a relative bloodline today, which is the Canaanites. Under that came the Astar. Uh, then that became the Ash Tordo, and then finally, which came the Astor bloodline. Um, then the tribe of Dan. Um, this was considered at the time the most powerful bloodline or satanic royalty bloodline. Um, the tribe of Dan, which what I'm oh, okay, sorry. I lost my space in my notes. So the tribe of Dan was a bloodline that came from Judah,
Mhm.
uh, from the Bible, uh, or is it Judah or Judas? Judas, right?
Judah, Judah.
Yeah, Judah.
So they were, yeah. So after David, the there were two kingdoms of Israel, Judah, and um, then there was um, Jerusalem. So those
Yeah.
two.
So Judah, I don't know why they called it the tribe of Dan, but basically Judah's bloodline is a satanic bloodline that Satan himself blessed. Um, so the 13th bloodline, so he blessed the 12 bloodlines himself. The 13th bloodline is a little different. This bloodline goes back to, it's also called the Satanic House of David. So this bloodline is a bloodline that they believe comes from David, King David. Um, and this bloodline was installed with the direct seed of Satan. Now, my theory is because David's bloodline was pure, that's the one that Jesus came from.
Mhm.
However, my theory is either David had either like a bastard son or maybe a daughter that this bloodline came out of, because when you follow lineage through history, it usually follows the son or sons of of the father. So if this came from a daughter, then that could make sense. But um, this bloodline basically traces all the way back to, or this bloodline goes back to Babylon and is a direct descendant of, or Nimrod himself was a direct descendant of the House of David, um, in which the DuPonts.
But see, I don't see how Nimrod could be a descendant of the house of David, because Nimrod was before David. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 years before David is where you get Nimrod. Nimrod was the great let's see, he would be the great great grandson or great grandson of Noah.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. That was just another bloodline. That wasn't the same bloodline. 13
okay,
bloodline was from David. One of the other bloodlines. I wrote this out of
had a descendant to one of the other bloodlines is what you're saying. One of the
yeah,
other bloodlines had a descendant that went all the way back to Nimrod
yes. So I
or
wrote that out of
Gilgamesh.
order.
Okay.
Um, yeah, if you don't, this stuff's got there's so much stuff to hear. It's hard to keep it all organized. But yes, so yeah, it doesn't go into depth about that. Which honestly, I don't. Even if somebody could explain that perfectly, I would question it because this goes back so long. This goes back to the days like where time started, basically.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody has that information. People can just trace it back through um, history the best way possible. Um, so that is the origin of the 13 bloodlines of where they come from, in which my guess when this document says blessings, um, it's probably talking about some type of intermarriage between some type of fallen angel, Nephilim, or some sort of uh, situation like that, some type of transhumanism like that. Because Satan actually can't give any blessings. He can't bless people because he has nothing. He can't actually like give anybody blessings, nor would he. Um,
Mhm.
but he can give the illusion of a blessing, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he can't create anything. That's why he has to mimic everything that God creates.
Mhm.
Um, so that's kind of how these 13 bloodlines got started. Now, as far as the names of the 13 bloodlines, from several different documents I kind of checked out because I had some questions. So you have the Astor family, the Collins family, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, and the DuPonts trace their lineage back to the House of David. So that lineage is considered satanic royalty in a way, and they hold the most power out of these group of the 13. Um, the Rothschilds, which actually I have a quote that I found of Nathan Rothschild that I just thought was interesting. This is a little side note. Nathan Rothschild was quoted in an interview, and I can't remember the date, but the quote says, "I care not what puppets is placed on the throne of England to rule the empire. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." So that right there is he's saying, I have the money, so I really don't care what person that is elected to power or whatever, because at the end of the day, I'm the one in power.
Yeah. I'm going to be able to control the monarchy no matter what.
Exactly. And the Rothschilds are just the worst. They're just the
Mhm.
worst.
And there's also another quote that's a part of the 13 families. It says, "War is not between kings of elite factions. War is contrived to control the masses by their greedy elite masters." So
Yep.
war is a tool to cull the people that they deem as, well, they call us useless eaters. So war is used to cull us. Our numbers get out of hand. Well, let's have another world war and
Or a
take,
pandemic.
yeah, or a pandemic, and we'll
Yeah.
cull the numbers of these people that we consider useless eaters.
It's just and that's kind of why we're going over this stuff is as far as these secret societies go, because as crazy as all this stuff sounds,
Mhm.
and you really like the more you look into it, you're like, this actually can't be happening. Like, yeah, maybe some of these families have a bunch of money and some of them have power, but at the end of the day, our system doesn't allow them to do. No, that's very wrong. That is very, very wrong. These families are not good. They all the one thing they all have in common is they are all very satanic, evil people. Now there's every generation there's a few of them that kind of rebel against the evil and don't want to be a part of it, and some of them actually get away. Most of them don't. They usually will
Mhm.
kill them. And not only that, these families put their kids under the same monarch type satanic rituals as they do with everybody else because they have to make sure that their next lineage is programmable so that nobody does go astray. Also,
Mhm.
they want them to tap into certain psychic powers that they feel like that they have since their bloodline is from the Nephilim or from fallen angels and stuff. There's a weird. Where is that? There's my critters. Oh, here we go. So something I found pretty interesting about this monarch thing is they were they've figured out a way to program people's brain waves
Mhm.
in order to uh, allow them to tap into different um, things as far as the frequency of their brain waves. So, at a certain hertz, that as far as your brain waves go, is broken down into three separate categories. You have beta, delta, and theta. A theta brainwave is a brainwave that can tap into psychic abilities that may be there that are dormant or anything like that, which they all believe they have. So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, and what they're trying to do, Brandon, is and this is part of the World Economic Forum. They've actually got video. You can actually look this up online, where a company is able to read your mind. Now, they say they're reading your mind. I think it has to do something with the chip that people are going to have it, implanted into their head or whatever, but they're going to be able to read your mind. And this is all in the premise of, well, we want to be able to read people's minds so we can get them to be more productive at work. So if they're at work, we can program them to not doze off, or not get off topic, or it's all a form of control using using these these different waves in brain frequency, which we'll hopefully going to do a show, a podcast here pretty soon about frequencies, and how frequencies can be very good and frequencies can be very bad.
Oh yeah, well they already can tap into people's minds and actually project thoughts into your mind
Yes, project thoughts. Yes.
from any time, anywhere, any place. Um, and I have to go back and look at it, but it has to do with something about it's on. I forgot it's not interstellar polarity. basically you can have a molecule or matter or something if they're quantum quantum
Singularity.
yes, not singularity, but synchronicity. Quantum synchronicity. That's the name. So basically, if you have two things that are quantumly um,
Linked.
linked, that you can, it doesn't matter where, how far apart they are. And if you rotate one of them, the other one will rotate in synchronicity together. So if you have, let's say, a baseball, and you have another baseball, and you take this baseball and you throw it 40 million trillion light years away in space, and you start rotating this baseball, that baseball will rotate at the same pace and mimic exactly what that did. So through that technology, through that discovery, they developed technology to where if they can quantumly sync your brain frequency, or it might be brain waves, then they can literally tap into your brain from anywhere, any place, anytime, and project thoughts that sound like your own inner voice telling you to do things. And you think it's your own thoughts. Now, if that's not freaky, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and now the movie Minority Report is very much a real possibility.
Oh yeah,
You know,
but
I mean,
that's insane. Can you believe
yeah,
that? That's insane. And I mean, in theory, that works.
yeah,
Like it, in it's like Harari said. Um, he believes that he said, I believe the humans are just programmable animals that we must control be and eliminate the free will of the people. That's exact
Mhm.
quote, and I'm pretty sure I got that imitation like on point.
That accent was spot on, dude.
And just the cadence and everything. That dude is the biggest pile. Uh, part of my French. He's the biggest pile of shit in this whole entire universe. Like the guy is 108 pounds soaking wet. Got these glasses on. He looks like somebody that should be shoved in a locker in high school, and probably did. And now he probably transformed into some kind of reptile person and thinks that because he always refers to people as the humans, not us humans, or we, or humans as in like he's a part of it, humans as in like y'all humans. It's
Mhm.
go back and watch it. I went through like probably 30 interviews. He every time he mentions humans, he talks about it in the not in like the first person humans, as in like y'all humans, meaning I'm not a part of that group because
Yeah,
I'm a big pile of shit.
of of reptile Dookie. That's what he is.
Oh yeah, and where was I? Oh yeah, 13 families. So you have the Rothschilds, then you have the Reynolds, uh, you have the Bundy family, which produced Ted Bundy. So
There you
enough
go.
said there. The Freeman family, the Lee family. This is the only non uh, Eastern European or Eastern European or American family on this list. So I'm assuming that comes from the Oriental bloodline that they were talking about, that I was talking about before.
Hmm.
And uh, the I don't even know how to pronounce this. Onassis. Onassis. Onassis.
Onassis.
Yeah, Onassis family, the Russell family, the Van Dunn family, and the uh, Moravian family. Uh, those are the 13. And other than probably DuPont's, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and Bundys, really, if it wasn't for Ted Bundy, you wouldn't even know who those are. These people do not want to be in the spotlight. They they do a fantastic job of not being in the spotlight, except for if the Rockefellers didn't name everything after themselves and make some kind of board game, you wouldn't know who they were either.
Well, not only do you have these 13 bloodlines, but you also now, when when we talk about these 13 bloodlines, we also have to bring up the Vatican, because the Vatican is intertwined within these three or 13 bloodlines. And so you have, and we've talked about this before, but I wanted to bring it up again. You have the white pope, which is the pope that's, that everybody recognizes, Pope Francis. Then you have the black pope, and then you have the gray pope. Now, the gray pope is said to control everything. That's the pope that controls everything. And that particular pope is from the Orsini family. Um, so they would be some way connected to the other 13 bloodlines somehow, some way.
I do have them under the Council 33.
Yes, they
As a
most definitely they would be 33-degree Masons for sure.
yeah, and these 13 families, they don't really, they fund everything, they orchestrate everything, but they don't actually lift any fingers or do anything.
Oh, they've got somebody else. They're not.
That's what they use the other lower hierarchies and stuff for.
Yeah.
Their hands are clean of everything. That's why they use people like George Soros, Klaus Schwab.
Bill Gates.
Yeah. That's why they use all these people as fall guys. Just like P. Diddy was a fall guy. Jeffrey Epstein was a fall guy.
Yeah.
All presidents are fall guys. And that's how they stay out of the limelight. And other than the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds just, I think they just like to be in the spotlight, but they just, I don't know. I told you about how William Rothschild's, this is the weirdest story. This happened over Thanksgiving. This past Thanksgiving. At 4:30, William Rothschild, he was 86 years old. He lives in Hollywood Hills on I wrote down the name of the street. I can't remember. It's not Concord. I'll have to post it in the notes when I post this. But he lives in the Hollywood Hills, in a huge mansion, backed off the road. This mansion, I can only assume, has full security, full staff. I mean, the guy's 86 years old. He's not getting around a mansion without help.
Yeah.
The whole thing burns down to the ground in 30 minutes with him inside.
I was going to say with him in it. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So to me, that's just weird. That is very weird.
Well,
how does an entire mansion burn to the ground in 30 minutes and nobody, and he's the only one that's injured and hurt?
Yeah, sounds like a hit
dead?
to me. Sounds like
That
a,
or
a
either sounds supernatural or so planned that
yeah.
everybody knew about it but him.
Hmm.
But I just thought that was really interesting because I was able to find 5 news articles on it, but half of them don't mention his name. Uh, the ones that do mention, they're only like 20 seconds long and they just give you some vague information. But according to the last one I saw, it was full 2 minutes, and it sounds like they're suspecting that it was arson, but they don't know
You
how.
think? You think it might be arson?
Yeah, but even with arson, think about it. You have a mansion. Mansion's what, like 30,000 square feet is
Hmm.
I think is considered a mansion. And I you can't burn 2 logs to ash in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
You're talking about a brick stone mansion because it's this old like English style house. It just burns to the ground in 30 minutes. That doesn't even seem like it's physically possible, even if you douse the entire place with gasoline.
Well, it definitely had to have some type of expedient for it to burn that fast.
That's why I think it's supernatural, especially after that movie we watched. I forgot the name of it, but it's about that girl that marries into that super rich family who has they got all their wealth and power from a deal with a demon, and then they have to sacrifice somebody every single year to them, or
Oh yeah, yeah.
otherwise they like explode, and then the whole house burns down like super fast, and the girl escapes.
Who
I mean,
knows?
I'm sorry, those are 2 very similar storylines.
Yeah, could be.
Could be a
Sure.
coincidence, but I don't think there's very many coincidences.
Yeah, not in
But
this day and age.
that's about all I have as far as the 13 families go. Um, again, this is so much information that I mean that document's 300 pages. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything.
The document that you gave me on the 13 bloodline.
Yeah, I haven't sent you over the one. It's even longer. It's 512 pages about
Oh wow,
the Committee of 300.
I got you.
And again, that's why I'm doing cliff notes of this stuff because, like, let's see.
There's so much, and it's so intertwined. It's like a spider web. It's just so intertwined with, and it gets so deep.
Well, just the one that I'm looking at right now over um, the Collins is 30 pages. That's just one
Wow.
family. I mean, you could realistically, if you read through this entire thing, you could be spitting out facts for an entire hour just about this one family. But again, it's all the same. It's kind of the same story over each family.
Yeah.
Who did I say the Astors go back to?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know this that John Jacob Astor, um, somewhat would say he was penniless, comes over to America from Europe and builds a wealth in the shipping industry
In the fur
and
trade.
the fur trade. And in just a few years, builds this massive amount of wealth. This could only happen due to the occult powers that the Astor family had. That's the speculation that he was able to achieve this wealth by some of the occultic so-called powers that he was able to use to acquire this wealth.
Well, yeah, it says the Astors trace their lineage back to Nimrod and
Yeah,
Sumerians. So would that be the Egyptian?
I would say yes. I would say that Nimrod would be a predecessor to Egypt. Now, a lot of people believe that the um, the people from Atlantis were Egyptian, but I
Well,
don't
that goes back
necessarily.
to the 10 Kings,
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that. I,
which are the
now,
10. The 10 Kings are the 10 generals of the army of Satan.
correct, correct. Which, again, are we talking about fallen angels at this point? At that, you know,
I keep
because
yawning.
because when we talk about Atlantis, we're talking about this predates, possibly could predate any civilization, even the Sumerian civilization, which the Sumerian civilization is considered to be the first civilization. But here's
You
the
want to know my
thing.
theory?
Yeah,
My
what's your
theory
theory?
is that Atlantis even predates the creation of, or predates Adam and Eve.
Correct. I'm on the same page with you in that. Yes.
I think that
Um,
there were civilizations of whatever you want to
fallen
call them,
angels.
fallen angels
Yes.
that predate Adam and Eve,
Yes. Correct. I agree with you
or
in
maybe
that
not
regard.
angels, some type of something.
Well, it's like this. When you talk about Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and Cain kills Abel, and God banishes him to the land of Nod. He places a mark on his forehead and banishes him to the land of Nod, where Cain takes a wife.
Yeah,
What's the land of Nod? Who are the people of Nod? You know what?
or if it's not people,
You know. Well,
what if they're
they would have to.
humanoids? They'd be a humanoid.
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
be
But.
some type of thing, and
Mhm.
maybe that's where the draconians and all those things come from.
We truly don't know at this point. It's just speculation and conjecture. But I agree with you that Atlantis most likely predates Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
Correct. But I still think that um, even though it predates Adam and Eve were on the earth, eventually were on the earth at the same time as Atlantis. You understand what I'm saying?
oh yeah, yeah,
So, they might not have heard about Atlantis because, they were in the Garden of Eden, and until they came out of the garden, then they might have actually heard and maybe even seen Atlantis. I just don't know, but some scholars have speculated that the Egyptians could be the ancestors of the people of Atlantis, but I don't believe that. Now, could the could the people of Atlantis had a global empire of that time before Adam and Eve? Could Because we do know this, Brandon. We do know that every continent has very similar architecture. They have,
yeah. They all have pyramids. They
the
all have
pyramids.
similar
They have a
hieroglyphs.
similar belief they have similar hieroglyphs, and they have similar beliefs um, in their religious beliefs. It's very, very
They're all
similar,
paganist.
which tends to lead logically that there was a world empire of some sort,
Mhm.
global empire of some sort. And that's what Satan is trying to get back to with the New World Order, a global empire.
He wants us all to be lizard people.
Yeah. So, and that's something to get into for a later date, but it's very interesting because it all connects the 13 bloodlines, um, the 33 degree, the Council of 300. All these things culminate, and they're all pointing to Genesis 6, where you know the the sons of God took forth the daughters of men and conceived children with them.
And I
So
would highly recommend anybody that has any inkling of curiosity on this subject, go read Gary Wayne's Genesis 6 conspiracy book. He's got volume 2 out already.
yeah, and Gary
It's
Wayne is a plethora of knowledge on this subject.
yeah, it's a long. I didn't read it. I listened to it on Audible. It's 46 hours long.
Did you sit
But you
still
know
that
what?
long, Brandon?
No, this is what I did. I throw my iPods. I get in the shop. I get to building, and I'm listening to Gary Wayne, and I'm jotting down notes.
And
And then I
you got
come
to do
up,
something else. I will have to
and
warn
then
you.
every
You
Wednesday night, I take these notes up to this here desk, and I just regurgitate everything that we listen to. And then
well, I
I go on
have
CIA document websites, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, hey, that says the same thing that Gary Wayne's been saying. This must be true.
well, you've got to be doing something when listening to Gary Wayne because he's a plethora of knowledge, but his voice will put you to sleep.
Well,
It's
if you're trying to take notes, you have to freaking pause the thing so many times and then rewind it because you're like, wait, what did you just say there? Because he'll just be like, he'll be talking and it just kind of like almost not mundane information, but kind of just information about this is this and this and that. And then in the middle of the he'll just throw out something like insanely profound. And then you're like, wait, what did you just say? And you got to go back and listen to it. And but yeah, it's if you want, you got to do it in 8-hour sessions. That's what I did
Yeah, I guess I'll have
because
to.
I find this stuff fascinating. First of all, and
Yeah,
because it will make you look at the world through a completely different lens of everything.
yeah,
And it's like you can spot like that movie Wicked just came out.
yeah.
Everybody's like freaking out over. First of all, why is everybody freaking out over it? It's the story of Wizard of Oz told through the Wicked Witch's
Yeah.
lens. And if you
Hmm.
notice that, it's like why are they doing it through that lens? Hmm?
Evil's really not evil, Brandon. It's just
Well, look,
misunderstood.
hey, don't blame me on that. That new the new Christmas movie with Jack Black
Oh
about the
yeah,
kid that has dyslexia or
misspells.
whatever, misspells Santa and says Satan. And you know what? At the end of the movie, the kid and Satan become best friends. And Satan's not that bad in the movie. He's actually kind
Yeah,
of quirky and funny.
yeah.
Give me a freaking
Satan's really
break.
not that bad. He's not that bad. He really doesn't want to take your soul to hell. Oh my gosh, it's ludicrous, man.
Oh, in the
It's
movie, he
ludicrous.
takes the kid's soul, but then he brings it back because the kid was just too nice.
Ah!
Can you believe that?
Oh
Oh,
my
the
gosh.
acting in it is god awful.
Is it that? Oh man, have you seen it or just?
Oh yeah, we watched it. See, I watch this stuff because I want to know what they're trying to program us with.
Well, Jack Black has lost his edge in the past few movies. He is not the same. He's just
Jack
not
Black has
funny. He's
lost
not.
his mind.
Yeah, yeah. He's yeah.
He looks like an overweight homeless person that should live on the street of LA. He actually looks
Yeah.
like Jack Black looks like a person who looks like Jack Black, but it's not actually Jack Black.
That's living on the street underneath the
That's
bridge
living
in
on the
LA.
street under a bridge. And you'd be like, hey, that homeless person, he kind of looks like Jack Black. But he's not Jack Black. That's who Jack Black looks like.
Yeah.
He looks like somebody who's not Jack Black, but looks like Jack
Yeah.
Black. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is crazy.
But
It's wow. Well, all right, man. I think we've gone a little over an hour. So let me ask you this: do we take a break for a little bit about the bloodlines and get into something else?
yeah, I say we take a break from the bloodlines for now. We may go back to it after we learn some more stuff. And I mean, again, we don't claim to be like the oracle of all this stuff. I believe I've just looked into it a little bit more than like the average person, and I'm just
Yeah,
sharing my own thoughts and
correct,
my own
correct.
findings. Um,
Mhm.
but I would like to get more into more kind of back into the cryptid space,
Yeah,
because we've got us we're going to that property here soon.
that's right. Yeah, the Sasquatch property that we know supposedly, the people
Apparently,
that
there are 6 Sasquatches family
yeah
Sasquatches that live on this property on its hunting lease. That from somebody I met through work, and he's going to let me and Archie go do our expedition on it. And so we've been doing such a deep dive, and it's almost like it's funny when cryptid stuff is the lighthearted stuff of
yeah
of this stuff. Because
yeah
if you dive into this stuff, you need to if you are doing research and stuff, like take yourself a break because it gets dark and you get all like
yeah.
feeling weird.
And we, you know, I want to do that expedition to the hunting lease, but then I do want us to go back to LBL again too.
Oh yeah,
Um, and I just, man, for some reason, I don't know why, if it was God's protection or what, but we just,
I don't. I believe stuff was around us. I just believe that I think that.
yeah, it could be very well. Because that
I
first
mean,
night, I mean, it was weird. It was freaky that first night.
well, that first night after setting up the tent, I was exhausted. I was out like a light,
Yes. Oh, you were gone, man. Yeah.
and then it was so hot that it almost
Yeah.
you just wanted to lay there and cuss.
Oh gosh, it was miserable.
But this
Miserable.
time it's so cold that I'm just gonna like pack in the suitcase or the sleeping bag with just a ton of stuff.
Well, I don't plan on being in no tent. I plan on being in a cabin somewhere because I don't think we could do a tent in this cold. It's
Oh,
freaking
we could do
cold,
a
dude.
tent.
Oh my gosh. No,
It's only 19
no.
degrees, Archie.
Oh my gosh. I'm almost 50 years old. I can't do that now. I can maybe deal with the heat, but I can't deal with no cold. I don't want to lose my fingers and toes, dude. My earlobes
Well,
or something.
oh no, not the lobes. We need them lobes.
That's right. We need the lobes for sure. But yeah, I'm excited, and I think we've discussed maybe in May doing the Bigfoot Festival, being at the Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, and then of course we'll be at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in July in Gatlinburg. So
Yeah, buddy.
yeah. Now, and I'm
And we're gonna
assuming
have our own booth.
I was going to say we're going to have our booth at both. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Secrets of the Fallen.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, man, I am going to hop off here and go take a nap or go to bed because I'm tired.
me and you both.
Guys, please follow us on Spotify. And I know I've been saying I'm getting this YouTube channel up and running, which I am. I've just got to have the time. We still work full-time jobs, but
yep. And we're still trying to work on Brandon's trying to work on the Giants Part 2 that we've had some difficulty.
That is coming. We just got ourselves a new platform for editing and stuff like that. I've transferred the files over. I've got to figure out how to split the audio so I can sync up our voices. Because otherwise, it's like I'm like a 2-second delay from you.
Oh, and, wow!
Yeah, it's bad. So I've got to figure out a way to do that and get that posted as well.
Yeah, we're still a new podcast, so we're learning as we go.
Yeah, and bear with us through the holidays.
Yeah,
and we'll get us your shows out, and please leave a comment on the Spotify. It really helps us kind of reach more people. More listens we get. Please follow us if you don't already follow us on Instagram. Archie, I lost you.
Yeah, have you lost me? Okay, now am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay,
but alrighty. Well, till next time. We'll see you later.